The mail arrived today, and inside of it we have our Fossibot, which is our new power station. I hadn't heard of it really before. I started doing some investigation when I saw it on Amazon Prime Day, and I'm going to let you know what I think of it here. Alright, so let's go ahead and get into this thing. Okay, so this is a lot prettier box than the other box was, the shipping box. So you can see some of the main features here. Battery cell and high safety, pure sine wave, has a UPS function, 10 milliseconds supposed to respond. We're going to check that out. Bidirectional fast charging tech, multiple safety fixtures, recharge anywhere via solar, 12 volt from your car, from your 120 volt, and this has got some cool things on it. So one of the things that really attracted me to the Fossibot F3600 was the fact that it will take 2,000 watts of solar for charging. So you can really use this, and this is our intention, to use this to power our cabin. Now it is heavy. I don't know if you noticed, 42.5 kilograms, so basically right around 100 pounds. And it's not made to throw in the car and just take everywhere you go. Although we are going to take it on a camping trip with us. We're heading to the UP, and we're going to let you know how it performs there. Give you some real world usage from that. But ideally what we'd like to do is set up about 2,000 watts, maybe 2,500 watts of solar power in panels, and then plug it in and let it run our cabin. So got some cool plans for it. We'll see how it goes. We're gonna get into the rest of this box though. Okay, let's see what this looks like from the top. So first thing we see is this bag that has a bunch of cords in it. Here is the flashlight. So this has a permanent flashlight that mounts magnetically, and so you can see it's pretty good brightness. It's got 3 different brightness, SOS, and it doesn't charge magnetically, but it mounts magnetically. You have to use a USB-C, it looks like. Let's see what some of this in here looks like. We'll get right to the nitty-gritty though. So we'll get this pulled out so you guys can see it. Okay, so we turned it on. It come with a 27% charge, and then here are the different cables for it. So here's a car charger, 12 volt. We got solar panel charger, and we've got the 120 USB cable. It looks like this is a cover for the unit. Flashlight guide, and then it looks like the user manual. So we're gonna go ahead and get this plugged in while we check it out. Then we'll go over some of the features here. Okay, so plugged into the wall, we're charging 1,500 watts. And I don't know if you can see, this has an input regulator, which we have turned to 1,500 watts. That's the maximum if you're charging from the wall. If you go with solar, it will automatically charge up to 2,000 watts. Now watch, we'll turn this down. $600, $300. Now watch this. So the bottom is 300. So if you look, you can see 300, 600, 900, 1,200, and 1,500. And we're at 300 for the input. So it takes a second for the system to respond. Now we're going to turn it up to 600, and it blinks for a moment to show you that that's the setting, and now it's going to equalize to the 600 input, and it tells you that's about a 7 hour. If you had 600 watts going into this, it would take about 7 hours. We're going to switch it to 900 watts. So 900 watts is about 5 hours. 1200 watts. It's about 4 hours or 3 hours. And then 1500 watts. It should be around 2 hours, I thought. Still reading 3 hours. So we'll get some real world numbers on that. But you can see I have some different USBs here. You have the PD 100 watt. So that's typically like if you want to power a laptop with USB-C. 20 watt, 20 watt, 20 watt. And then we have the USB-A 3.0. Got 2 of those. This is the 12 volt out through the standard cigarette lighter. We've got 12 volt 3 amp, a couple of those, and then we have the 12 volt 25 amp. Also down below is our 420 amp 110s and a 30 amp. So I'm excited to spend some time with this thing, and we'll try to get some real world numbers for you so you can see we're climbing 30% there. We'll let you know how long it takes to charge this. We're going to give a test, first real world test for our Fossibot F3600 here. And we've got the unit here. It is, I guess I gotta hold that to start it up here, right? All right, so you can see that it is completely charged, 100% charged. We're not plugged in. I've got a Keurig over here that has been unplugged for about, let's call it 24 or 36 hours, something like that, maybe even longer. So it's completely cold. So we're gonna plug it in and we're gonna see how much juice it takes to fire this thing up, get all the water warm because it's one of the ones that hold the water on the side and everything, and then brew a cup of coffee. Now, the likelihood is we're not gonna be using this. I mean, my first go-to is typically, if we were gonna make coffee, would be to make it on a gas stove. But we're gonna see how this does. So here's the Keurig we're gonna fire up, completely off right now. Haven't plugged it in yet. This is my wife's sort of coffee station in the house, and there's our Michael Scott World's Best Boss Cup. So we'll get this thing started up. First we'll plug in the cord here, which, as you can see, it's not drawn anything yet. Have to turn on the AC. All right. So not pulling anything yet. Now We'll turn it on right there. And we'll let it begin to warm up. You can see it's pulling quite a bit of wattage. And if we were pulling at this rate, 1162 watts, this would last for 3 hours of constantly 1162 watts. Now, I don't anticipate that the coffee maker will continue to draw that much. At some point the water is going to get warmed up, so we'll see how long that takes. We'll call it 10:34 when we started this, and we'll come back here. Okay, it says it's ready. You can see right now in idle mode, it's not pulling any wattage or 1 watt, pretty low wattage just to power the LED screen. So, and of course the light in the water tank. So we'll go ahead and start brewing a cup of coffee. That's a new pod in there. First, we're gonna make it strong. Then we're gonna make the cup size 10 ounces. And we'll go ahead and start brewing that first cup. You can see while it's brewing, there's a pump in there. Fairly low wattage. It's been 4 minutes since we started this process. Should see some coffee starting to come down here. I'm sure you know how these work. Then we see the heater kicked back in. As the water is going through, heating elements are turning back on. Coffee smells good, so that's positive. So we're at 90%, 98% of our capacity. So we'll probably end up making a couple cups to see how this, well, first of all, I always run this through because there's not enough, 10 ounces is not enough coffee, so I'll leave that pot in there and I'll add another 4 or 6 ounces, run it through again. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Flip that up, hit strong. Let's call it 4 ounces. Need to get that good and full. So right now, that's sort of standard. Just the pump running with heating element will kick back in. Most likely. Yep, there it goes. All right, it's done brewing. Goes back to idling, and we'll make another cup. So all in all, about 6 minutes to make a cup of coffee. And when it's sitting here in the idle mode, it's hardly using any energy at all. All right, and now we're gonna brew another cup in the Goofy mug. So again, the pump, once it starts flowing, we'll see the elements kick on. There they are. So why did we choose a cup of coffee to test this out? Because a coffee maker is one of the things in your house that draws the greatest wattage in usage. So now it's heating up some more water, running consistently, 1165 watts. So now our next test that we're going to do is we're going to add a toaster to this load. And we're going to put a toaster on this plug also and make some toast while we're brewing coffee and see what we do. Be back in just a second. All right, so now we have our toaster hooked up. We're going to try one side of the toaster. So you can see we've got it plugged in. All right, we've got our toaster plugged in to the Fossibot, and we see we've got the idle from the coffee. So we're going to run another cup of coffee, finish out that cup of coffee and the toaster at the same time. So first we'll start this. And we'll wait for the heating element to kick in, because we want to see what happens when we spike this with the toaster and so we have 1100, should settle down to about 1175 watts. Put our toaster down. So 1842 watts. Maybe we'll grab 2 more pieces of bread and try the toaster on the other side. Well, we might be able to do it without putting a piece of toast. We'll just turn it on. So now we've got 2,500 pieces, or 2,500 watts being used. Toaster going on both sides. The heating element is firing up for the coffee maker. And we just heard the fans, which are located back over here. They just kicked in. So you can see sort of the opening for the fan through there. You can get an idea how loud the fan is. It's not disturbingly loud, I wouldn't say. And so now our coffee maker kicked off into idle mode. Toaster's pulling 1,323 watts. That's a nice little test for the Fossibot. Our next test is going to involve, we're going to throw this thing on to, onto the refrigerator and the freezer, and see how many days we can run the refrigerator and the freezer just off of this. All right, we are at camp. This is day 3, the end of day 3. It's 8:41, so almost 9 p.m. This is our camp. We have not started a fire yet. We stole this firewood from our neighbors that were right here. They took off because there's a threat of rain. This path down here leads to the lake. Nice little beach down there. This is what current setup looks like. Amy's in the back there, just finishing up dishes. She had made dinner. We've got a plug running from the Jeep because we've got our Fossibot power bank in there, and we're powering the whole camper, which, you know, it doesn't take a whole bunch of power. Most power it's taking right now is a couple hundred watts to run this refrigerator. So that's what's running right now. And dishes are done.
Yep. Hello.
We're here at Ross Lake. So like I said, it's going to be base camp here for a few days. All right, good morning from the UP. And we just wanted to get you a little update here of sort of our situation. I'm going to open up the back of this Jeep. Don't give me any grief, okay? We just threw everything from the camper into here, and so we got bags of stuff. The important thing to focus on is the Fossibot. We're at 50%, pulling 87 watts right now, and that 87 watts is because I'm charging some of my batteries because we use this fan over here. And it's been hot, but the primary purpose for the fan right now is to keep air moving, to keep bugs away. But charging battery there. You can see I've got a cord through there. And we've got it into our camper here. So the whole camper's hooked up. And y'all, this is crazy. But last night, and we didn't plan on going to bed thinking this, but I was like, when we first started up the camper, when we first plugged it in, the air conditioner was still running from the last time. It only pulled, I want to say like 400 watts. 400 amps, that'd be crazy. But like 400 watts. So last night we were laying in there sort of hot. So I flipped it on. I flipped on all the energy settings and everything. So the fact that we had air conditioning here in the middle of nowhere last night, and you know, I've got 50% left, which we're gonna go run around today. We're gonna charge as we drive off the inverter and the power cord in the Jeep. So we'll see how this goes, but so far I'm pretty impressed. So impressed with two things. First of all, the Fossibot, that's pretty cool. But secondly, also the air conditioner in the Sunray is, you know, pretty efficient. So yeah, we're doing well, and looking forward to a day of adventure here. Okay, so we've got our Fossibot plugged in to the Jeep inverter, just on the normal, you know, power plug. I am going to turn the input into 300. The inverter puts out 400 watts. I'm going to have Amy go ahead and turn it on. So she just turned it on. Let's see what we get input wise. I heard it click on. That looks like it shut it off. Try it again.
Okay, I put it on. It turned it off.
Okay, it immediately turns it off. We should have it on 300 watt. Let's try it again.
All right.
Nope, it just trips it automatically. So we're gonna have to try a different avenue. So I don't know if it's because, I mean, I have it in 300 watt mode, hoping that the regulator would pull no more than 300, but it must try to initiate before that kicks in. I'm gonna switch it to 600 just one time, and then let's see what happens. Go ahead and.
Okay.
So turned it on. Nope, it just kicks off the Jeep inverter. All right, well, when in a situation like that, we'll switch a few things up here. We just returned from a 2,222 mile, no, didn't plan it that way, it just happened that way, trip. And we took the Fossibot with us, let it sit in the Jeep the whole time, and we ran the extension cord to the camper, and we even ran the air conditioning for one night for a few hours. It was really hot one particular night and muggy, and we were in a remote campground, ran it, and we went from, I don't know, we were at 86% down to 48% or something like that. So, you know, it worked pretty well. I was hoping that we could use the inverter on the Jeep, and I'm still not done experimenting with that. The Jeep has a 400 watt inverter. When we would plug it in, this would spike it. Even though theoretically, the inputs can be changed by turning this, and it should limit what it pulls. But I'm not sure if it limits what it pulls or what it allows in. So I think that may be where the difference is. So we ended up hooking up the 12 volt lighter, cigarette lighter, into the accessory inside the armrest cubby of the Jeep. And that put in somewhere around 96, 97 watts as we were driving. So the amount of time that we spent driving around was able to keep this, you know, up. So it'd go up, we'd take it down to 40, it'd go up to 60 some, and take it back down, just sort of depend on our driving habits. But very, very pleased with how this thing performed. So it's got its war scars now. It's got some rubbing and things were setting against it, but worked really well. Pretty pleased with it. Like I said, not done trying the inverter. Got a couple things I'm going to try with that, but we're ready just to get into the house and sort of relax a little bit.